And we can call this meeting to order. So let's see, it's 7:04. And a little bit of housekeeping is, 1, this meeting is being recorded, as I'm sure you already are aware. 2, closed captioning is available. Wait, hold on. Let me turn on the closed captioning. Okay, closed captioning is available. If you want to use it, you can turn it on. Just be aware that, you know, the closed captioning is automated. It's just an algorithm trying to tell what we're saying. So try not to talk over each other because it can't figure that part out. It just turns into a garbled like sentence that makes no sense. I think those are my housekeeping items. I will try something new and do the thing I'm supposed to do every time, but always forget, which is take attendance or whatever that's called. So I am here. Nicole, are you here?
Nicole is here.
Yana, are you here?
I'm here.
Great. Eileen?
I'm here.
Daniela?
Here.
Jeremy?
Present.
Isn't this a pointless exercise? Elizabeth?
I'm here.
Great. Maria?
Here.
Teresa?
Here.
Lindsay?
Here.
Sherry? I feel confident that Sherry is here.
Sherry is muted, but here.
You're on mute, Sherry.
Maybe she can raise her hand and then we can.
The problem is I've been trying to set up the notes.
Oh, yeah. You
I'm
can
here.
open. Yeah. Thank you, Sherry.
Okay.
And
Sorry
Stephen.
about that.
Oh, that's okay. Or Stephen, I'm not sure I have to call your name on the roll, but I
I'm
clearly
here though.
don't know how this works.
Sure.
And then we also have from the public, of course, Sue and Gerald, who will be speaking to us in a little bit.
Here.
Thanks for joining us. I think, in fact, maybe, okay, no, first we do a check-in because everybody loves building community. So my check-in question to you all is, in one sentence, what is your favorite holiday tradition that you celebrate in your family? And I will go first and then each person can call on a person. In my family, we celebrate Christmas and we do Christmas brunch. After, we don't celebrate on Christmas Day, we celebrate the Sunday after Christmas. And we have brunch and do Secret Santa and we listen to like really nerdy Christmas albums. Like there's a polka Christmas album that my family listens to every year by a band named Brave Combo.
Oh, I know them well.
Yeah, totally lovely. How about you, Nicole?
I don't know if we necessarily have any traditions, but everyone in the house makes a dish, except for I guess my husband who watches football, but everybody else participates. But that's what we kind of like that somebody has something every day, every time. I'll call on Yana.
I was gonna say, like, my family always gets these cakes for the holiday, and actually one cake, and it's like a 7-layer cake, and each layer is either cake or like caramel, and it's like really, really good. So I always enjoy getting those. I think it's Oprah's favorite cakes, like she recommends them. So yeah, they're yummy. Highly recommend.
Yana, you want to pick someone to go next?
I'll pick on Eileen.
I think I have two. So Christmas Eve, my brother has a really large family and now they're all married and they all have children. And so it's even more fun with like the grandchildren. So we do that Christmas Eve. And then Christmas night, we have two best friends. After you've spent so much time with all of your family, we have these two best friends that come over and they spend the night and we play games and eat Chinese food. And it's a fun time. So, Daniela, how about you?
On my husband's side, there's a group of us cousins that are around the same age, and a nice family tradition that has evolved over the last 5 years is that the couples will adopt a holiday to celebrate and have everyone over. So I really like that tradition. My holiday is like not the 4th because I don't really celebrate the 4th, but it's my birthday weekend. So I kind of make that the holiday. But I love that we get together for Cousins Christmas and Cousins Giving, and just really cool that we can find moments to come together and make memories. Teresa, what about you?
We like to get together with my family on the 24th, and we wait till midnight to open gifts. So that was torture when I was growing up, but now I enjoy it. So we play bingo and, do whatever we have to do to stay awake. So it's fun. Little kids don't enjoy it as much, but you'll get over it. All right, let's see. Who hasn't gone yet? Elizabeth, what about you?
So this one is a tradition that I don't participate in anymore, but is a favorite from when I was young and my cousins, and I remember it well. When we were little, we were not allowed downstairs on Christmas morning until we had an invitation. So we would sit at the top of the stairs and wait, and we could hear the adults downstairs making coffee and finishing the last minute setting things up. And there was a curtain across the stairs, which was not put there for us. It was to keep the heat from going upstairs. But it turns out that the like anticipatory joy of sitting on the stair together is the thing that my two cousins and I remember the best about our Christmases when we were young. And of the three of us, the one who has children has carried that forward, and her children now sit at the top of their stairs in the morning waiting for their parents to invite them down. So that's just a fun little odd sort of thing that I really appreciate. Lindsay, did you go yet?
Hi, so we celebrate all kinds of things in my family. So for Hanukkah, every year we do potato latkes, which are my absolute favorite thing ever, made by my grandmother, which are nothing compares to those. And for Christmas morning, we always do breakfast at my mom's house, which I also really enjoy. So we don't have anything particular other than those two things, but I love those two things. So thank you everyone for sharing, by the way. It's been great to hear, so thank you. Who's left? Jeremy, have you gone yet?
So one thing we do in my family is we celebrate the seven fishes, the Feast of the Seven Fishes, with my wife's family. And actually, we just did them this weekend. So it's usually, because we all have kids, we usually do it the weekend before or whatever weekend falls before. So we just did that. So that's pretty good. We do it here. So I fried calamari and smelts, and we had shrimp and crab and scallops and bacala, for anybody who knows the dry salted cod. So that's pretty sweet. So anyway, Maria.
So I love that so many people's like traditions revolve around food. And we are the same. So yeah, Christmas morning, we always spend at my parents' house. We all go over in our pajamas, and we open presents there. And my mom always makes her sticky buns, which there's nothing like them, and fried eggs. And yeah, we just have a very casual, but a casual breakfast. But yeah, it's just all being there together. It's just great. And Sherry, have you gone yet?
No, I haven't. And my family's Jewish, but we don't really celebrate religious holidays. But when my folks were around and we were still traveling, because we now have a new tradition, just my husband and I, we used to always go to the movies on Christmas Eve, always. But now that we're not traveling, and to tell you the truth, it's great not traveling on Christmas, even though we're not seeing family. Our new tradition is we go around the corner to the Wyman's Christmas tree sale, because we live right around the corner from the lake. We buy our tree and we carry it home on our shoulders. And it just gets, everyone we walk by in cars, the runners, they all laugh, they all smile to see people carrying their Christmas tree on their shoulders the old-fashioned way home. So that's our new tradition.
So we've
And
still got.
I don't know if you can see
Stevens.
behind me, but I go crazy decorating the house. That is every year, whether I'm home or not.
So we've got Stephen, Sue, and Gerald still left. Stephen, why don't you go ahead?
I can go ahead. So I have a large family, but you'd snap your fingers, there's 20 of us. We have a thing called Crazy Cat Lady that we do for our Yankee swap. It's been going on for 20 years. So it started with an action figure that was a Crazy Cat Lady with magnetic cats that would stick to it. And then so it gets handed down every year. Somebody gets it, and then you have to add something to it. So there's like a calendar from like 2007. There's like a night shirt. There's like slippers. There's like cat butt magnets, cat butt pencil sharp. It's all sorts of stuff. And it's just hokey Americana, like in a box. It's great. So, and I'll pick Sue.
Sorry, I love that. I just had to say thank you for that. That's amazing. So thank you for the best thing I've heard today.
I agree. That's really awesome. I love what Stephen just said, and I love Lindsay's reaction to everything, whatever anybody says, you're jumping up and down and giving a thumbs up. Okay, so being Jewish is a really great time to feel left out on, during the Christmas season. So I have overcompensated, and we go to, so Christmas Eve day, we have dinner with friends who have 5 kids who are now adults, but we did this all during their growing years. And were it not for COVID, we'd be there in a few days again. And then Christmas Eve, I go to the 12th Baptist Church in Roxbury for midnight mass, which it just knocks me out. I love the joy and the spirit of it. And the gratitude, just, oh my God. And so I've been doing that for like 35 years, I think it is, skipping COVID. And then Christmas Day, my temple does stuff for Christians who want to celebrate. We do a Christmas dinner for people who are Christian and want to have a dinner. So we do that. And then I have a friend who has a party in the afternoon. And then by Christmas night, I'm zonked. So it sure beats sitting at home and feeling like, woe is me. So on to you, Jerry.
Well, I'm in a family which has all parts. I'm Jewish and my wife is Catholic, so we celebrate everything. On the Jewish side, I enjoy Passover most because it involves kids asking questions, and question asking is something that's very close to me. For my wife's family, in part, we do a Yankee swap at some relative's house. Somebody has to seize the moment and host it. So we're very busy celebrating everything.
I love that. Thank you all for sharing that. It warms my heart. So now, without further ado, Sue and Gerald are joining us. I don't know, Nicole, do you want to introduce like what the kind of like speakers series thing that you have been working on?
Sure. A few months back, I suggested that there's a lot of topics that we discuss here that not all of us know like all the information, and we never will know all the information, but I thought it would be helpful if we knew some basics of things. And so just trying to have some different groups come and maybe speak for a short time just to kind of give us a little more information to help with our knowledge. And so this month we have Sue and Jerry. They're going to talk about the Holocaust and children, and so they'll have about 10 minutes to speak today, and then we'll have 5 minutes for questions. I'll have Sue put her phone number. Oh, we don't have a chat, but maybe she can change her name and put her email address there. So if someone has questions after today, they can email her, and I'm sure she'll be glad to speak to you. And hopefully, I believe that she does do other speaking things around the towns here. And, you know, you can always hook up and listen to what they have to say further. So without further ado, here's Sue and Jerry.
Cool, thank you. Jerry, we didn't talk about who would go first, so you can, but I just wanted to say before we jump in that we're like two random people from our Melrose-based temple, where there are 6 of us who are all children of Holocaust survivors. So the 6 of us have spoken in a number of situations in Melrose, and then recently thought, well, we really ought to go. I mean, I live in Wakefield, other people in our temple do as well, that we would speak in, we would see if anybody was interested in Wakefield. So this was really fortuitous. So just so you know that background. So Jerry, do you want to take your 5 first, or?
Fine, I shall do that. This is essentially a presentation that I did at the Melrose Memorial Middle School last year, and in other places as well. There are 2 messages for this. One is that each person can make a difference. And the second is that this is a family story of survivors. There are 2 quotes that I found in last Sunday's papers that were appropriate. One of them says, each one of them has something interesting to teach us. They're wonderful. And the other says, it made her realize the level of impact that an individual can have. So starting with that, I'm going to ask you to activate your imagination. And if that means that you have to close your eyes, that's okay. Otherwise, imagine a dandelion flower. When the flowering part is done, the dandelion makes a small, fragile, round, fuzzy ball. When the wind comes, or when you blow on this, the seeds scatter in the breeze. Think of each Jewish family as a dandelion seed, scattered into the winds by the Nazi German breeze. My family lived in Vienna, the capital city of Austria, a city in the middle of Europe. The family included 4 people, a mother, a father, a daughter, and a son. The story that I'm going to relate now is mostly about the mother and the daughter and the differences that each contributed. The mother paid close attention to events in Germany. She read newspapers, she listened to the radio, and she understood that what was happening to German Jews could happen to Austrian Jews. So the mother made a plan for the daughter and for the family to escape if Germany invaded Austria. On March of 1938, German troops did invade Austria. There were swastikas everywhere. At this time, the daughter was 17 years old, and she was a student at the Austrian National Academy for Art and the Performing Arts. She was studying piano, and her dream and her goal was to be a pianist in an orchestra. The first part of the mother's plan was to have the daughter apply for advanced piano study at a music conservatory away from Germany. So the daughter applied to the conservatories in Rome, in Paris, in Amsterdam, and in London. And she was accepted to the Royal Conservatory of Music in London. At the age of 17, she traveled alone, no family, no friends. Her train journey from Vienna, Austria to London, England is about 850 miles. The travel time was 2 to 3 days. and she had to change trains at least 5 times. I would have been afraid. I imagine that she had fear and that she was incredibly courageous and brave to do all of that. When she wound up in London, she went to the Royal Conservatory to register for classes and was told, no, 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 no. You can't register because you didn't pay any of the monies. Well, it turned out that all of the funds that the family sent to the Royal Conservatory were appropriated and stolen by the Germans. The British now decided that she would be a war child refugee and that they wouldn't send her back. But they did send her to a family who were the gardeners at the Kew Gardens in a London suburb of Richmond. And she lived with them and she played piano during social events at Kew Gardens. She became accustomed to being a refugee. There weren't too many other choices. She was glad to be alive, but she was very sad and she was very unhappy. Her goal and dream of being a concert pianist literally vaporized. In the next year, 1939, the mother, the father, and the son were able to escape, and they traveled to England to find the daughter. They found her, but she really didn't want to leave because she has become accustomed to playing piano at garden parties. But the mother decided that was not appropriate. So she went to the American embassy and made an appointment to speak with the ambassador, Ambassador Kennedy. And he had the family into the American embassy and said to the daughter, you really ought to go with your family. And she decided, okay, that would be the best thing to do. These are family stories. There's a story that deals with the father. There are stories that deal with the brother. And there are stories that deal with other families that were part of the group in Vienna. So just please remember that one person can make a difference and that this is only a family story of survivors. Questions? Or maybe questions are later?
We'll let Sue go first and question.
Great.
Thank you, Jerry. That was interesting. So, first of all, thank you for having us. We appreciate it. And to emphasize that we're not subject matter experts, we're just here with our personal stories. So my story is that I was born 5 years after the last European was murdered for the crime of being Jewish. I grew up in a community of Holocaust survivors, parents, grandparents, cousins, everybody, all of whom have stories, of course, of how they survived and how other people didn't. But I was thinking, how would they want me to use this 5 minutes with the Wakefield Human Rights Commission? And I think I can only imagine that what they might want in light of how life is here on planet Earth in December of 2021, that it might be helpful to talk about how the Holocaust happened by a series of small steps, and that it's important to keep an awareness of small steps. And I think there are 2 examples that come to mind that they might want me to emphasize. So one is the construction of concentration camps, the series of small steps that led to that. And the other is the deconstruction of truth. So construction of camps and deconstruction of truth. So construction of camps, I might use my grandmother's experience in that she was in one of the first concentration camps. It was a women's camp. And it was for Jews and Jehovah's Witnesses and communists and gypsies later included gay and lesbians, people, and people with disabilities, maybe elsewhere at the same time. I'm not sure when that started. But anyway, so that was in the mid 30s. And what's significant about that is that it was not a death camp. It was a re-education camp. And also significant is that it wasn't just Jews, it was other social groups that were at various degrees of disenfranchised status, essentially. So the point about constructing concentration camps is it wasn't that Jews one day went to the movies as they wished and the next day walked into gas chambers. It happened step by step. And one of the steps was that concentration camp that my grandmother was in that was not yet a death camp, and that included people who weren't Jews. The other example that they might want me to use in this 5-minute period is the deconstruction of truth. And an example of that might be my Uncle Pete's experience. He had been in med school in Berlin and was relieved to get a fellowship to study medicine in the States. So why would he be relieved? And what does that have to do with deconstructing truth? Well, what was happening in German medical schools and went to full fruition after Uncle Pete left was there was a redesign of the study of medicine. The job of medical schools and the job of his professors was to mesh the government's belief system with the practice of medicine. So the job of medical schools was to make sure that the practice of medicine and government's beliefs were one and the same. And it was reasonably easy because the theory of the day was pretty simple. There was the superior form of human life called human beings, and superior among the human beings are white people, and superior among those white people are Aryans. The only problem was the Aryans, says the so theoretically medical theory, right, is that Aryans had more than a blemish, they had a serious disease, a sickness, and the sickness that they suffered was the presence of Jews. So all you had to do was get rid of the sickness. It's very logical. And they really taught this in med schools, was get rid, and well, anyway, keep it short. So yeah, so they had to get rid of Jews to get rid of the sickness because it was one and the same. So that was how killing became healing. Healing became killing. Healing was killing. Killing was healing. And if you've been paying attention in the world, I think you can see how both situations, the reconstruction of truth or deconstruction of truth and construction of places to farm people out in behind bars is very familiar. I think it's frightening. And I just want to emphasize that I think my family might want to say, beware of the small steps. That's my story.
Thank you so much, both of you. And I also appreciate that 5 minutes is, like, of course, no amount of time to be able to share about a topic like this. And I appreciate you coming and sharing what you did from your family stories. And I see Daniela has her hand up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate, thank you for sharing your stories. And, it makes me wonder, how can we, a group of the Human Rights Commission, can help people of your communities when things happen that, people wearing the Star of David, when, you just like, what is something that a group like us, that what can we do that would then make you feel comfortable or feel seen? Because like those actions are just so wretched and sometimes saying I'm sorry or like I feel for you, like that just isn't enough. And so I just wonder, like, what is enough and how can we make a difference? And how would that like hit inside? Like, okay, I feel seen, I feel heard, I feel like, yeah, we're all in agreement that that was ugly and we can move forward and heal.
I don't know how you feel, Jerry. My sense is people do look back on what Hitler did, and there is not approval, even among the right wing today, even among the Americans today who would do the same thing to Black and brown people, and maybe to Jews as well. It's unclear. So my sense is what matters is to take a stand about what's going on now.
Yeah, I think that the key is to be the difference, is to say either individually or more profoundly as a group that that we don't accept the thought, we don't accept the behavior, we don't accept the making of differences the way it's coming out, and the fact that this group or each person as an individual has the courage to say no, that's not how I was brought up, that's not what it means to me, causes other people to pay more attention, because here's somebody who's presenting a very different perspective. And if you do that individually, or if you do that as a group, word spreads that there's another way to think about things. Whereas if you just sit quietly and say, oh dear, there is no alternative, and what you don't like continues to spread.
Lindsay, go ahead. I see your hand.
Hi, sorry, thanks. I don't know where my hand thing is or how to use it because I'm terrible with technology. I want to thank you both so much for taking the time to speak, rather. That was amazing. Thank you for sharing, and it hit home for my family history, both of those stories. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Both were very moving, and I appreciate you taking the time. I think to speak to what would be helpful, from us, or what we could provide, is I think, education is important, and being proactive is important, and just, like you both have been saying, taking a stand and speaking up. I think education is key. And you both are wonderful speakers. And I wish that there was longer than 5 minutes, because I would have listened to you both for hours. So thank you both. I think, things like that, maybe, you two could both have a speaker series, educate the public. Thank you for your time. I think things like that, that's what's going to make a difference. And it is the little things and the small steps, which is, in the case of Hitler and other cases in life, it's brainwashing, and it's really easy to miss that stuff. And it's really easy to miss the, subliminal messages and the stuff we see on social media every day, and the stuff we see on the news in any direction, in both directions. So I think it's really important just to, educate people and give people the resources to get the right information and the correct information about anything and everything. I think that's what we could help do as, in our role here. Thank you.
Sure.
Just to respond, I spoke to 3 different groups by ages at Melrose Memorial Middle School. The different grades got different attentions for different things. And the one question that came to me from each one of those groups individually is, who is the little girl in the story? And I had to tell them that the little girl was my mother. And that, because it was a similar circumstance where we were on Zoom, it was interesting to watch how some of the faculty and how some of the kids responded and reacted when I said, that's my mother. Any other questions?
Oh, go ahead, Sherry.
I was just thinking about what you said before about saying no, and I think that one of the things that we already do is that we already try to offer as many people as possible active bystander training through the WHRC, because that's the occasions where you can say no, where you can be an ally, show support, and deny the people who are the haters their validity. So I think we're already doing something through TAB. I wish we can get more community involvement, but I think that will happen again this winter and spring.
Yeah, you know, actually, aren't you guys, isn't it the Human Rights Commission that put up the menorah in town? Was that you that made that happen? The 8 candles at Hanukkah?
No, I think that was the Shabbat of the North Shore.
Oh, okay. I thought you guys had to do it. Well, that was something that was really welcoming. It felt like sort of a delayed response to Daniela's question. That was like a really good example of how I sure felt welcome. Jerry lives in Melrose, so, but as a Wakefieldian, that really made a difference.
That's a really good point. You know, there's such a deal made out of lighting a town tree and decorating it. Having a menorah is setting the standard of that everyone is welcome. There's more than just one religion here. That's more representative of our community, is we are a melting pot. So that's a really good point. And maybe next year we can think of, you know, how can we highlight or help support other groups bringing that to light.
Thanks. Great.
Sue, do you mind quickly just putting your email address as your ID for a few minutes?
Yeah, I just don't see
Benny
the
got-
chat.
Oh, there's no chat. We don't have a chat. You'll have to just change your name. Do you know right up here at the 3 dots at work? If not, then I can
at the
just
3
forward it
dots
to
where-
everybody. Where you can change your name at the top. Yeah, 1 second.
I actually.
But Benny lost her connection. So Jeremy, I think you're the VP, so it's on you, buddy.
Okay, Sue, what you do is you go into participants, and then to
Oh.
the right of your name, you'll see more. And there you can rename or add to she, her, your email address.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
the other option is like Nicole said, you can send it to Nicole and Nicole can share it with everyone as well. So
Okay. So
Can you
here
find it,
is.
Sue? Because I
Yeah,
found,
I got it. I need that paint by number
There, there it is.
directions. That was
Yes.
very helpful. Thank you, Sherry. That's great.
Thank you guys both for coming. I feel like I could just listen to you for like a whole nother hour or so. And too bad it's only 10 minutes, but you know, it's like a tasting to kind of sit and be on the lookout when you guys are speaking again to be able to attend something. And it looks like Benny is back on. Elizabeth looks, and I'll mute myself. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to carry forth. I loved the recognition of like having a menorah lit in town is a solid reminder. And if we as an HRC want to check in with how we can continue to make space for people of all religious traditions, that'll be a really good space for us to check in with the Interfaith Clergy Council, because I am not religiously Jewish, so I will let other folks speak to this one, but this can also be an instance where like there are holidays that are far more significant to the Jewish faith than Hanukkah. And it might be that Rabbi Greg, who is our colleague in Wakefield, has thoughts about how we can support the community around other holidays that are major holy days of the tradition.
Awesome. Thank you for thinking about that. And I don't know if there's like a Muslim community in Wakefield.
Yes.
There may be other
Yes,
groups as
small,
well
but
that would
there
have
is.
something similar. Yeah, but
Yeah, and like the Jewish calendar, the Muslim calendar shifts. every year because it's not set on the like standard calendar
Right,
we
right.
use. So that's also a place where like, okay, these holidays sit on the current calendar at a different time every year, and we can ask folks how we can best support those other communities.
Actually, Counselor Maureen Butt, when we could have live meetings, had a little Ramadan celebration that was really, really nice. And the fall holidays, the Jewish holidays, Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah are really high holy days. If we're going to do any kind of community type of celebration, it would be much more appropriate to Hanukkah or Passover, maybe have a community Seder, which could be a very joyous thing in the spring.
Yay, food. Yeah.
And if we do, it should be led by Jewish folks.
Elizabeth, just the concept that there are different calendars is by itself an event or a useful thing. That there's a lunar calendar, and then there's the other calendar. And as an educational piece, you could start off with, the names go back to Rome. I mean, that's why it's called, January and February, March. I mean, they're the names of Roman gods or goddesses, and that's how Monday became Monday and Sunday became Sunday, because it's the sun day and it's the moon day. And so there's a whole possibility of just to be sensitive of calendars.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Sue, were you going to say something?
Oh, I was going to wave goodbye. I figure we're
Yeah, I think that
we've
we
gone
are
over our time.
probably ready to go on to the next thing, but so many thanks to both of you for being here with us and
Thank
sharing
you,
your story.
and for everything you do. I mean, really,
Yes.
I thank God that you guys exist here in Wakefield.
Yep.
So know you are appreciated at all times. And thanks
Very
for your
good.
time tonight.
Stay healthy. Enjoy the holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
You too.
Bye-bye. Thanks
Okay.
again.
Ciao.
Okay.
So let's see. Next on our exciting agenda is approval of minutes. So we have the minutes from last month's commission meeting, like the main meeting. And I don't have a list in front of me of who was not here, but I'm going to try to remember so that when we go around and vote, yeah, Lindsay was not here. Danielle, were you here? I can't even remember. When I
Sherry,
called you to vote,
Sherry and Lindsay were absent.
Sherry and Lindsay. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. I felt like more people than that, but I suppose in your absence, it felt like a great absence. Okay, so anybody have any changes, additions, corrections, or anything for the minutes from last month? No? Well then, does anybody want to make a motion regarding those minutes?
Move that we approve the minutes from the meeting that happened last month. I don't know the date.
Great.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, so then, Nicole, how do you vote on that?
Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on what I'm supposed to say. I do accept him. No.
You can say anything you want.
Yes, I approve them.
Okay. Eileen, how about you?
Yes.
Stephen? Oh, no, you don't vote. Sorry, I'm always forgetting these things. Daniela?
Yes.
Jeremy? Jeremy says yes. Elizabeth?
Yes.
Maria?
Yes.
Teresa?
Yes.
And I also say yes. So that's for the minutes from last month. And then we have three meetings worth of minutes from the MLK Day and CSK Day subcommittee, which I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, we can approve in a lump. Like we don't have to do 3 different motions, but are there any changes or updates that need to happen to those minutes from the folks who are on that subcommittee?
No, no changes.
So do we have, there's 3 meetings. There's November 17th. No, there's 4 meetings, November 17th, December 1st, December 8th, December 15th. All of those meeting minutes need to be approved. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I move that we approve the MLK CSK subcommittee meetings minutes as presented.
A second.
Okay, so then that subcommittee is Teresa, Jeremy, and Nicole, is that right?
Yep.
Okay, great. So Teresa, how do you vote?
Yes.
Nicole, how do you vote?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Yes.
Great job, everybody. Thank you all. So speaking about that, why don't we move on? And if you all want to share with us what you've been working on, or if you need anything from us, I don't know, give us your report back and your anything else.
We need help.
We need help.
Okay, what's going on?
So we have the venue. We have the date. It's the 17th, 10 to 11:30. We thought we had, or we still kind of have a performance. It's kind of, I think it's still limbo. We're still trying to get like 100% commitment. We wanted to kind of, it's a youth group that we're going to have. Nicole was working on it, but then we can't get a full commitment yet. So that still kind of has us kind of living on the edge. And we've only had so far, I think, 1 nomination come in, which is Benny, you shared with me yesterday.
Yeah.
So that's it.
I think that nomination had 2. Didn't she have, there was 2 of them, 2 people, I thought.
Okay.
But yeah, but still, yeah, we only have 2 nominations.
So I did share it again with the town yesterday. I sent it, asked them to kind of post it. I did like a queue, like one of those codes to see if maybe people want to take a picture of it or something to make it easier to kind of upload on their phone. We did share with the Galvin. We are waiting for like the artwork and all that stuff. I know they're announcing at the Galvin because Ben tells me every day that they mention it. So I know that's being mentioned, but I don't know. We're living on the edge right now.
So is it right? You have 2 things that you're sort of trying to get submissions for. One is the nominations for the service award and one is artwork.
From the kids.
And have you contacted the like art teacher people, whoever is in charge of artwork at the different schools?
So we definitely they have a committee that they kind of connected us with, which is, one of the teachers is leading it. And then it's the diversity club. I think they're the ones that kind of take in charge of this event. Cool. And they have shared it with the school. I know they put it on the morning announcements, but I can send it again individually to the teachers too. I think that's a good idea.
You can also do it. What I have done before is sending announcements and things to the individual principals of each of the schools, and then they send it out in their like newsletters or whatever. And you don't always get a response, but I feel like that's one where we get like at least more exposure.
Okay.
Because then every parent is like seeing it at some point.
And that information is on the, what am I calling it? My brain is dead today. On that resource chart, I've created for everybody. So you have the email addresses and the names of the people you would need to contact.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds stressful though, like you're trying to put together this event and like stuff is sort of not coming together. So it's in person at the Galvin, is that what's happening?
Okay. Yeah, well, so far it's in person. I mean, I know things are changing with
as of today.
COVID. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I hope it's still in person. I mean, it's a couple of weeks away, so.
Well, what would be helpful from us? Oh, Lindsay.
Right, just from like a planning, I mean, I don't know a lot about this because I was not here last month. I apologize, by the way, for that. But it seems like the question of whether or not it'll be in person might be significant just because of what's going on in the world. Like, I do wonder if maybe is there a way to make that also virtual if it were to be in person? So maybe more people could attend if possible, if they wanted to. I didn't know if that would be an option.
So I know last year we had it like pre-recorded. So I mean, so we had like but it was kind of planned that way. So I think it was easier in a sense to kind of give all to the WCAT to kind of put together. I don't know. I mean, I think this year if we wanted to do that, we would have to have it ready by. Didn't they give us like a deadline that was like before Christmas?
I think the last email though, they said
Yeah.
the first Friday of January. So
yeah.
And we're not even asking for the deadline for our submissions till January 7th. So I think they are gonna film it, right,
Yeah.
Teresa? So it will be
Yeah, I
on
think
TV. But the issue becomes like, we can't plan for a cancellation. We just have to kind of like hope that the guidelines remain what they are for the next month. And if you're vaccinated in Boston, you're able to go into events starting January 1st. So I think we're just gonna have to basically plan for in person, and whoever shows or is willing is comfortable coming comes. So, and it's, again, it is what it is, I think. So
You'll also have to, if there's a vaccination requirement, you're going to have to plan for that. How are you going to handle that at the door? And that gets a little bit sticky. Although I don't think you're going to get a lot of resistance in Wakefield for an event of this sort. But you have to be prepared to check people's cards because we don't have a state online system yet. I don't know if any of you saw this, but not this month, but last month in the library, there was a wonderful exhibit in the lounge towards the back of the first floor of Stephen Lewis's posters. I mean, fantastic exhibit of posters. And I didn't know if it would be possible at all to have because he has Martin Luther King posters too. If it would be possible to have any of those as part of this live event when people are entering, because the posters were phenomenal. And there's another wonderful exhibit going on right now that really plays right into human rights. But I went and I spent quite a bit of time looking at the posters. So I don't know if anyone else saw them, but if you're looking for something else to make the event really special, I think those posters are certainly, the library got support from the Wakefield Cultural Council, and the Ironworkers Local and the Sheet Workers Local, because they did a lot more posters than maybe we would want, because they had posters from Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Angela Davis, and Paul Robeson, and many more. Patrice Lumumba, Nelson Mandela, Steve Biko, and if the list, Harry Tubman, Frederick Douglass. So they were historic posters too. They were quite amazing. Well, maybe that's for Black History Month for February. If we could mount that exhibit again, because it was a tremendous exhibit. Anyone see that besides me?
I haven't been to the library in the longest time.
Oh God, I'm there every other day now that I can go inside.
Yeah.
But they have these wonderful exhibits in the seating area beyond the reference desk.
Yeah.
Do you know who the contact? You said it was the Cultural Council.
Well, the library, I would say that probably Catherine McDonald worked with, because Catherine or Jackie Powers got that grant from the Cultural Council, Wakefield Cultural Council, and then somehow or another they got support from these unions because it was labor exhibit. Because Stephen Lewis was an activist in the labor movement, and he was a former treasurer of a union. So that's why I think the unions got involved as well. And I have a Gmail for Stephen Lewis. I also have Facebook links so you can look at posters. And I can just send out those links after the fact to everybody if you want to look at them. Because they were, like I said, quite amazing. And I would love it if we could show it more widely to the community.
Right. No, that's great.
Like I said, it might be February, Black History Month. That might be a wonderful time. And if we could have them in a larger space where people could socially distance, you know, but a safe space in terms of they're not getting damaged. That would be, you know, maybe, I don't know if the AmeriCol, if that would be possible. It would be the kind of thing, would be a major exhibit that people can walk through and view.
Cool. Well, thanks, Sherry. I would, oh, go ahead, Maria.
I was wondering in terms of trying to generate more and to spread the word more in terms of the nominations, what the possibility would be to send it to all the town boards, just given that, you know, service-minded people know other service-minded people. So if that's a possibility. I also know that correct me if I'm wrong, the nomination deadline is the 26th. Is that okay?
That's what we had, yeah.
Okay. I don't know if there's any possibility of extending that a little bit to like another maybe 2 or 3 days. Because yeah, I feel like this week, at least for myself, leading up to Christmas, now with Omicron taking over everything, I don't have enough brain space to think about.
Yeah, no.
So yeah, just 2 suggestions.
Yeah, no, thank you.
And if you do send it to the principals, you have to hurry up because schools cannot be, it's going to be out of session as of Thursday, Friday.
Yep, Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday. So tomorrow.
Well, I
would
know
be
I
the
sent,
day.
wait, I think we sent it to the principals. Like I sent it to Mrs. McLeod last week.
Oh, okay. Then
So,
I'm sure it already went.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think the artwork one, right? We have a deadline of January 7th, so it gives them the
7th,
week
yeah.
they're back as well.
Yeah.
The nominations, I think we can extend out because, you know, the 3 of us can easily get together,
Yeah.
you know, and make a decision quickly on it, especially if we have a very limited number of nominations to weed through. So that's not an issue either. If it will help out get more.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you happen to send anything to the Boys and Girls Club?
No.
I wonder if that might be worth it. I don't know if they have like a winter, you know, camp. I don't know what they're doing anymore. Ben is aged out of camp, so I have no idea, but I would guess that they have like a day camp for a winter break. Maybe they some artwork there for you.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
Thank you.
And then you mentioned that there's a youth group. Is the dance group that's coming as part of the performance? Okay. Cool.
We have two possibles. One is a dance group. I mean, they're both pretty much a dance group, but one more is a performative dance group, and then the other one is a more I guess they're a little bit different. I would say like one might be a little bit more hip hop type, and the other one might be various different types of dances, not just one.
That's awesome.
On Albion Street, there's a business called Kid Picasso. It's like Kid Picasso, and it's an art space for children. And maybe they would spread the word to their customers who are art-minded people, because their kids go there to make things and create.
And send an email to Laura Marie. She definitely would probably.
One year we got art from one of the preschools. I don't know if it was the Doyle or if it was like one of the private preschools in town. I just remember that Pina's daughter was working there and brought in artwork from her preschoolers, which was actually like totally phenomenal. I don't know if that's really a thing, like MLK Day artwork from preschoolers, but she did a great art project with them. So, and I don't also know, like, I obviously don't have kids, so don't know how this works. Is preschool still in operation over the winter? Like if you have kids in like daycare or whatever, preschool? I don't know. Anyway.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I don't remember which one it was though. If it was like the Odyssey or if it was, I don't know.
How about Sunday school at the churches? Or bar mitzvah lessons at the synagogue?
Yeah, they have a, I don't know what it's called. I think it's also called Sunday school. I think they have, or
Yes.
no, maybe it's not called Sunday
Well,
school.
it's more like Saturday school.
Sabbath school of some kind. Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
If you're thinking of doing Kid Casa, you might also think of Follow Your Art in Melrose. There's a lot of Wakefield kids that go there.
I have a question about the service award nominations. Are we allowed to nominate people if we're not on the MLK Day subcommittee, or do you think that's like a no-no?
And are we allowed if we are on the committee?
I
think not, right? Doesn't it say no? Or I don't know. I thought I read it. Maybe I read it wrong.
Shoot.
I mean, just my personal opinion is if you're not voting on it, I don't see why you can't nominate someone. Just because there's the cross, like, you know, there's the relationship across many facets of the town, especially from a commission like ours. So I personally don't have a problem. Like, I'm not going to nominate someone because I'm going to be voting. So, but I think we would welcome nominations. I don't know. I guess Teresa can check the fine print that's put out there. So
I know. I think we put it on the form, right on the form. So I mean, I think if we just go through it, we'll see it.
If you're not the decision maker, I don't think you would have a conflict nominating.
Yeah, maybe you're
right. What else? Are there other things that we can do to be supportive or like help pinch it for some of these? Because it's a big planning. Like
yeah, no, I think spreading the word is definitely helpful. Like if you can share in your own networks, you know, share the link, let people know.
Can send positive vibes. We do have a meeting
that all this falls through.
we do have a subcommittee meeting next Wednesday, right? Not tomorrow, but the Wednesday after.
Next Wednesday at 6:30 we're meeting again. Yeah.
So if you have positive vibes between now and then, as I've told Teresa and Nicole, that things will come together, that the fretting is not in yet. So I actually
the hopeful one.
Huh?
You're the hopeful one in the group.
No, it will come together. I have faith. So
your background as a cheerleader is really apparent right now. Well, is there anything else you want to touch on from your subcommittee?
No, I think that was all. Thank you.
And I got your email, Teresa, to repost that flyer. So I'll do that when we get done tonight.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, and I put you on the, or I didn't put you on, I copy pasted and left you on the thing for a youth council update. I don't know if you have anything you'd like to share.
We don't have much. Our last meeting was in late November, and we just reviewed about a cleanup, reflected on that, and then we were supposed to have a meeting last Thursday, but got canceled because of the lack of attendance. So we're gonna reschedule that in the new year. So that's all I have now, but hopefully next meeting I'll have more to
let's see. Active bystander training. This is I have been, let's see. Nicole was good enough to go to the WAVE like board meeting or whatever last month, where they talked about, you know, we had given some information about the possibilities for rescheduling the active bystander training, and Nicole shared some of that and they talked it over. And so it seems like there's support for the idea of rescheduling the active bystander training as a sort of after school event for the school kids. I've been in contact with the folks who organize the TAB like whole program. And they said that that's definitely a possibility. If it's something that we like, if that, we're in support of and want to do. One thing though, is that they are not doing in-person trainings. Like that's still certainly not an option. So it would still be a virtual training. And what's the other update on this is, so Dan Lieber, who lives in town, is also a TAB trainer, and he has been in communication with Doug Lyons at the school to bring the youth training, which is like actually a totally different thing. The youth training is like a train the trainers program where they have a bunch of youth become TAB trainers and then give the training in the schools to their peers. And it's like a longer term sort of project and is like a separate thing from what we're doing. The trainings, that what they call the community trainings, are what we like have done, what we did earlier this year. So Dan Lieber and Doug Lyons are in communication about bringing that student train the trainers program to the Wakefield public schools, which is totally exciting. I don't know when that's going to happen. I don't know any of the details, but they're in communication about it. And Dan said that he thought that it would be a really valuable and important first step while they're kind of spooling up for that to have this just like regular TAB training for the youth. So he was like enthusiastic about it based on the communication that he's been having with Doug Lyons. So those are some updates. I think that we could potentially, yeah, go ahead, Nicole.
So because Dan lives in town, can he, I mean, they're not doing it, but can he do an in-person, or they're not going to allow? Because the feeling from Wave and from, oh gosh, I can't remember the woman's name, is that virtual, they're not in, the kids probably wouldn't get a good attendance from the kids.
I think TAB has like a policy that it's not to be in person. And Dan said that he wouldn't, I think. Sherry, go ahead. I see you.
Yeah, it's a copyrighted program, and you must have the permission of Quabbin in order to even run them. And they will not allow live trainings at this time.
Yeah. So then what are people's thoughts? Yeah, Lindsay, go ahead.
What if we were to, I don't know if this is possible with our budget or with however anonymous donations we can make it happen. What if we were to like incentivize the training, like, kind of do a raffle or whatever for participants or whatever for the kids? That might be something that might draw their attention, or maybe we could use some of their social media skills that I don't have to maybe promote it
I know
on like
for the
Instagram or somewhere else, or sorry. I don't know.
I know that they were offering for the kids, for the youth, if they took it, that they were going to get like for the Honor Society, they would get their community service hours and some things like that. So they were really feeling positive that they would definitely fill the class. So I can send an email out to her and ask her if she still thought if it's virtual, how that would work, but I'm not sure. That was one of the things that they said.
Who was it that you were talking to? You told me already, but I can't remember.
I have to find the email. I mean, at the Wave meeting, that was the consensus. And then another teacher sent me an email about interested in doing it and helping us get the kids and everything. And I'm drawing a blank on her name right now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you emailed me about it, but I also don't remember.
Yeah.
So, and do you know, Nicole, I don't know if you had gotten to this stage in talking with people about it. Who is it within the school system that we would be in contact with to schedule like an after school event?
Yeah, that's the name. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Let me go out of this. I'm gonna go off, stop video for a minute, and I'll find it and I'll come back.
Okay. Anyway, so it sounds like maybe it's a question for that person of like, how realistic is it for us to fill a class if it's virtual still? So I'm wondering from you all, if it sounds like from this this employee at the schools, if it sounds like virtual class is no go, they won't be able to fill the class, what do people think we should do? Some
I think we
options.
should ask Yana. Do you think we could fill a class?
Yeah.
20 students?
20 students. Would it be high school, right? Because it's what's the age?
It's like 15 and up or 14 and up or something like that.
I don't want to be too cocky, but I do feel confident that we can get the word out, and I'll do my best to legit get all my friends to come and all that. Like I feel so strongly about this, and I learned so much about it, and I use it in everyday life. The only thing that I was thinking, if we do it after school, I think it would be best to do it like in between sports, like seasons, because usually winter stops and then we have like 2 or 3 weeks, and people don't have anything usually.
Brilliant.
Like, so I think that's like the best timing to do it. And I know, like, I want to say I feel confident we can do it.
Yana's going to be our recruiter for this event.
I am. Yes.
The teacher is Kara, Miss Showers, Kara Showers.
Showers. So what's her like? Where is she in the schools?
I
You muted it, yeah.
I believe she is with the Wakefield Academy. So
Oh,
they
okay.
they do the enrichment programs, and I believe that
Got
she
it.
is one of those. Is that correct, Deanna? Do you know Miss Showers?
I do not.
That's okay.
I don't recall her name.
I think I believe she's with the academy. So she would send it out on the email to the parents. They would see it coming up and what have you.
That's a brilliant idea what you said, Yana, about doing it in between sports. Do you know when that is? I know this much about sports.
I believe it's like late February. I think, if that's too late, I don't know, but I think so. I know my hockey season ends then.
Okay.
Late
Probably,
February, early March.
I think
yeah.
I think
After
February.
school vacation in February, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I think February break is kind of like the transition and end of the winter sports.
Unless people go to tournament, I think that's when they stop. Yeah.
Cool. So we could try to look at scheduling it in like once everybody comes back from February break.
Yeah,
Okay.
I feel like that's good timing.
All right. Well, so what's next? Nicole, do you want to contact Ms. Showers and try to find out about whether she thinks the virtual class is feasible, or do you want me to do it? Since you're already planning the other stuff, I'm happy to like be helpful with this.
Sure. I mean, I don't mind. I don't mind. I can send her an email tomorrow.
And I know Dan Lieber, and I know that I would love to work with him on this with the students.
Yeah, I think he's enthusiastic about it too. So
Yeah. We had a really nice long talk, and I would love to co-present with him, co-facilitate to the students.
Cool. All right. Well, we will keep it moving. We're going to keep working on it. Hopefully we'll be able to put something together that's, bring something positive to the community. Let's see. The Language of Diversity campaign. Sherry and Danielle, do you want to talk about that one?
Does everybody have their notes? Because what we tried to do was put together, we were trying to come up with, tighten up the concept and come up with ideas on how to have this so it would be our 2022 messaging campaign, so that we would have things going out once or twice every single month. And it would be, again, another awareness educational campaign that had positive messaging. So did you all see Benny had, I don't know, Benny, can you share your screen? Do you have that? Can we put that up?
I think I can share screen. I can do it.
Yeah, because that way we can speak about it from looking at it. Okay.
Do you want me to make it bigger? Here. Can you see it?
Yep, I can.
You can even, if you want to scroll down to initiative description as the top, because I think we skipped the strategy.
That's what I'm looking at. Do you see where it says initiative description?
Mm-hmm. Okay, if you can scroll down, like you can see what our thinking is on how we're trying to develop this, the purpose of it, which we've already talked to you about. But what we're looking for is assistance on, first of all, we're looking for your approval. In theory, people have approved this already. And also the focus, approval of our focus, and then help with strategizing. Because we have some ideas, but we need more ideas in order to be able to mount these infographics once or twice a month on Facebook, the website, to other organizations, local media. And there'll be, like I said, infographics. There'll be sort of little charts and things with no more than a few different words, that because it's all about language. And what they mean, or what is the preferred right now by the group that it might represent. And in no way, shape, or form are we saying to people, you have to do this. We're just saying, just be aware of this. This is what's going on around you. And it's a moving target. It changes so much that something that we do in January, we might have to revisit in July. So.
In one point further in the strategy, you know, we mentioned distributing these infographics to allied organizations. I do think there's sense in partnering in some of a way. So for the youth council, sending Yana off to tell them about this initiative, to get their insights as to what they think we could also promote. What issues are they seeing at the school? You know, are there areas that we can help create educational sources on, and in return of them giving input to us of just like either being like, yeah, we see that, or here's something that Sherry and I don't think of. We would create, so Facebook, you know, it's usually like there's a format that's a little bit better for Facebook than it is for Instagram and all the different social medias, to make it so that way it's more appealing when you're scrolling. So we would just like give a Instagram friendly format of the infographic that the HRC posts on our Facebook page to the youth council, that they can then post, and they can even credit us, or they can say reposted from the HRC Facebook page. They can, you know, link it so that way it's all, you know, it's not like we're trying to sneakily, but our materials are public, so it's just giving them a format that's more appropriate and it doesn't downsize the resolution. That's the other issue, is that if they were to take it from Facebook, download it, repost it on Instagram, it could become pixelated. So it's just being intentional about, here, we've made this graphic, here's like the appropriate dimensions and resolution that it's easy to, yeah. And then the other, I think we mentioned, you know, getting guidance from other organizations. We just didn't mention the youth council in that list, but that's why I thought like they can certainly give an input as well, since we would be also giving the materials that they could, if they want to, post.
And you can see from the first dot under strategies, just a couple of the areas that we thought that there was language that we could present that would, just like I said, raise people's awareness and perhaps increase their sensitivity to others.
And I even caught something last night, Sherry, when I was looking this over. So the word ableness is up for contention in the community that I belong to. It's people with disabilities. Ableness gives a bad word. It gives like sometimes it's a point of contention where like differently abled is either like some people are okay with it and some people are very much not, because they're just like, well, then you're saying that disability is bad and it's negative. So putting people first is an example of something that we can empower people with as an information. So if you are interacting with someone with a disability, or you're speaking of somebody with a disability, it's the most powerful tool of inclusive communication is to put people first. So if you say person in a wheelchair, or person who is hard of hearing versus handicapped person, that's, you know, you always put the human first, people first. And that's just an example of how we can teach people or show people, you know, sometimes we don't know, like, do I say that's a blind person? No, you say that's a person with low vision or a person who is blind. It's like awkward. And as Sherry said, it's constantly changing. How do we know? Well, this is where we come in and we can just once a month, I think we said a cadence for at least, what was it? I don't know if it says 6 months, but in my mind it was 6 months. I could have just
No, I
made
was
that up.
thinking for the year, for the 2022, the STAR campaign. But if we have enough, I'm sure there's enough material, it's just that you and I personally don't necessarily have it. So we're looking for help and suggestions.
I think that the idea of seeking expertise from people with lived experience with these different things will be key, because even what you were just saying, Daniela, is contentious. Like, there are people who will very strongly tell you, I do not want you to call me a person with autism. I want you to call me an autistic person. Like, so there's certain communities in which the idea of like, yeah, like all that stuff has like very nuanced and important meaning and context in different communities. So I think even talking about that as a general concept, like there is no one size fits all, like way to use language, you know, be curious, or I don't know, some kind of messaging like that.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe, you know, the challenge, Sherry, that we could have is we don't just go to one group, we go to two, just to make sure that we get, you know, because yeah, like Benny had just said as that example, like my, you know, at my company, that's what we come from and that's what we say, but it could be different from a different community. And I think there are some other local groups in Wakefield that we can partner with that are of the town government that can fit these. It's just, yes, trying to get into, say, like, I don't know if there's an LGBTQ plus community. Like there's not like a formal group. So that's where we would kind of need help. Where do we go?
There are places in like around though. There's like Bagley of the North Shore Bag something. I can't remember the actual name.
I think it's Nagley.
Nagley, there you got it.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes more sense. So they're kind of like of our region. And they partnered with us for our Pride event like 2 years ago or something, back when we had like a big Pride event in person before everything happened. Anyway, so they're perhaps an option.
Okay, so it's okay to step outside of Wakefield.
Oh,
there's also maybe a youth, yeah, I don't know if there's like a youth like LGBT club or whatever.
There is a club at the high school.
Yeah.
And so that, and also Nagley, those would actually be my best recommendations, because those are the place you're going to get the most up-to-date language. Asking queer adults, our language has gotten outdated in a lot of ways. And so we are not often the best people to ask, because youth change language quicker than we do.
So this is like a huge organization, but my company has partnered with them to have some trainings to talk about pronouns and things like that. But the Human Rights Campaign offers sort of free trainings with free trainers. To Elizabeth's point, you just have to be sort of careful and maybe sort of look at a couple of different organizations before you make choices about like what you're going to post. Some of it is a little outdated in lots of different places. So, and then there's another organization called the Justice Resource Institute, and they sort of support youth in Boston called GLASS. They're fantastic. And so they've also posted lots of sort of appropriate information in the past too. And I do have a contact there if you want to reach out to them.
Eileen, that would be great. I also know that because if you work with the Indigenous People Day in October, you have contacts within those organizations. And so what we're asking is for those of you who have had contacts with these various different organizations to please share that contact information with Daniela and I, so that we can call in the people who have, like you said, lived experience, who are tuned into this day after day. And as certainly young people, I mean, language changes so fast, and they are the ones who are changing it every day faster and faster. So we definitely want to speak to youth organizations as well. But if you could all please share, and I know I keep asking you for this because I want to put that also into our resource document about, so that we don't have to keep on reinventing the wheel. So whoever you've had contact with with different groups, please let us know, and we will reach out to them, and we will come up with sensitive and interesting posts.
Yeah, one more thing that's coming into my mind, and I don't actually have a contact person, but around different disability communities, to be reaching out to organizations or communities that are like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like led by the folks in the community, as opposed to like a service organization. Like this is an agency that helps people with intellectual disabilities or something, but like reach out to, you know, Empower, or like some of these other groups that are really led by folks with disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Sherry, if you want to put it in the notes, Disability In is one of those organizations.
Disability IN?
Correct.
Okay. And Empower, that's the other one that.
Yeah, I'm not
just
totally sure if
mentioned.
they're still in action, but Empower was like a pretty rad, like a social action group led by folks with disabilities. There's also the various Centers for Independent Living.
Right. Plus,
Those are
Wakefield does have a council, and I would think that that council would know of all the different various groups. So if we just even talk to them about who we could contact, they will help us as well.
Yeah, they could maybe help connect you.
Yeah. Was Empower EM or
I think
IM?
it's EM.
Yeah, I thought so
It might
too.
even just be M, but I think it's EM.
Okay. And you said that it was the Justice Resource Institute? Okay. I'm just putting these things down. Anything you can suggest at all. And rather than taking more time tonight, please just email that to us, and we will follow up. You know, we really do need your input, and we'll do the on the ground work for this. And I hope you think this is a worthwhile exercise, I should say exercise, initiative for our group, because it's all about respect.
One thing we could do is, you know, since we're thinking monthly, so that's 12 posts in 2022, we can come here to this meeting, have hopefully just 5 minutes to say, this is the information, this is the post, share it. So you can look it on the screen, and then Sherry or I or both quickly within those 5 minutes speak to who we spoke to, how we gathered this information, so it can be like educational here for the recordings, for anyone who watches the recordings, but that's like, I don't know, that could just be extra, but like just an offer of suggestion if people feel uncomfortable like this just going on the internet and being like, what? Or if it's like, I'd want to see and hear the ins and out of this, or, you know, so just throwing that out there. But I think, Sherry, correct me if I'm wrong, that what we're seeking here is just like everyone's aligned in an approval of this initiative, so we can go forward and start outreaching to these different communities and get these materials and the information to move forward.
Yes, and also we can credit the communities on our post as sources. So people will see that we're not making this up. This is something that we're getting from people who are within the communities. And, you know, there's been so much conversation and editorials. John McWhorter, if anyone reads his editorial, he's like the king of woke or wokeness. He's written a couple of books. He has editorials in the Times constantly, and I've been reading a lot of his material and reactions to his material. And so we do have to be sensitive, because people are starting to push back. You know, they feel like enough already, but that's why we have to do this in just the right way.
All right. Well, everybody put your brains together and think up some potential resources or contact.
Or topics.
Yeah.
Or groups you want represented. Like one of the things that Daniela and I were thinking about that. It was actually it was fun, but at the same time showed insensitivity, was all of the different slang expressions that take Native American, even religious rituals, and turn them into slang. And so just say, what is this? What, when you're saying to friends, oh, let's have a powwow. But a powwow is a particular special religious ritual, and we would just give the definition. So next time you think of using that, what is an alternative to saying that? Because this is what what it really means. Or one of the things I struggled with this fall was Indian summer. What do we call that season that is elongated?
Yeah, I feel like there is more than enough content for us to come up with like many posts, right? Like there could be endless topics. So I appreciate your thought and work on this stuff. Thank you, Sherry and Daniela. Let's see, moving on to Lindsay. The next one is yours, the mental health resources and programming.
Wonderful. I'm not going to overcomplicate anything for anybody or try to make anything like too boring. I just think, as always, that it would be beneficial. Sorry, I fix my headphones. Beneficial just to have more resources in the community around mental health, because pretty much everything that we talk about could relate and does relate to mental health in some way, most of the time. Yana, I'd love to work with you, your school adjustment program, whatever you have there, some sort of advocacy council around ways to, make that more, I don't know, like put it on Instagram, do something with that, maybe do something in the schools, do something in person. I love work, and we've mentioned the Unitarian stuff. I would love to also work with the Unitarian Church. But right now, mental health providers in general they're spread way too thin, as evidenced by the mental health crisis in the world, specifically with, kids, but really everybody. So in the past, I could have devoted hours to this, which is why, Yana, I'd love to enlist your help. But currently, it's really, really tough. So I think there's a lot out there. And in general, I think, we're putting out a lot of triggering content sometimes to people without even realizing it around, languages with diversity even, and, cultural sensitivity and LGBTQ. But we're not really giving anyone any resources as a safety net once we put that out there. So I think, like, even just for my own clients, like on my portal, I have just a piece of paper with phone numbers and websites and different resources for all different communities, just general resources that are available to the public already, just all in one place. I think even having something like that, on our website or on our Facebook page, I don't go on Facebook, but however, I think even starting there in the active bystander training, I've always been a really strong advocate for that. So I think continuing to promote that and its importance, not just for youth, but also for adults, because often we're the ones who struggle with that. And we're the ones who, stigmatize mental health and a lot of other things. So, the kids have us beat around open-mindedness a lot of the time. So we could take a lesson from them. So I'd love to find a way to just incorporate more mental health into everything that we do. I
We
think
can
putting
dedicate
things
a
on
month
tables
to
is
that
always
on the
good.
language. We can dedicate
I
a
would
month to
love to
that on
do that.
languages.
I can't offer to help right now. It's in the middle of the holidays as a therapist. I'm working like 90 hours a week. Like I said, I'd love to. I have a lot of the materials, and I have a lot of materials, both, online and physical materials. I wish I had the ability to go through all of that, but like I said, I'd love to work with, maybe a couple of students could help me out or something like that, and work with, the Human Rights Committee in general and on executing some of this online in ways that I personally don't know how. I'd love some help on it. I have the information. I just don't have the means to put it into the world, I guess.
Lindsay, I'm thinking, so like a one pager sounds like the ideal thing. I know that you have like boxes full of like many pamphlets on many topics, but I feel like the one pager is great. And if you have one already, like you said, that you put on your portal, couldn't we use that? Is it like usable?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's all, like I said, it's all public information. It's just easier to access when it's all in one place. It's like crisis lines. I have veteran specific information, stuff for teens, stuff for parents. It's not, I don't have everything, obviously. I can't promise that I do, but it's a pretty, it's a pretty decent list. But I think, in the future, when the therapists of the world aren't completely in over their heads, I think programming would be a really good idea around mental health and, just overall acceptance and respect. Because a lot of the stuff we do is kind of there already. Like the
Yeah.
active bystander training is a really good training. And I think if there were more education around that, that's a really good start as well. So I love that there's a bigger push for the youth. I think it's really important. But again, it's also really important for adults. So by the way, I'll sign up again if it's ever on a Tuesday because I loved it and I would take it again. So however we can promote things, I think in a better way, that would be helpful. And I have more swag, by the way, everybody. So pens and stuff, fun. That's about all I've got. So please email me with ideas. It's a really tricky time of year for mental health professionals, but it won't always be like that, I promise.
So I saw a couple hands. Elizabeth, were you raising your hand or were you just moving your hand? Okay, Yana, go ahead.
I just wanted to say I would love to help out.
Yeah.
Like posting on like youth council or getting other committees in the high school to advocate these two, or maybe like trying to get an announcement or posters in the school. Like, please let me know anything that I can do. I would definitely take on.
Yay, I'm so excited. Thank you.
Let me know.
I 100% will. 100%. Let's work together and
Okay.
put some things into action.
Okay.
Cool. Stephen.
Yeah.
I would just share, I don't know if anyone sort of heard it or read it, but last weekend, the Surgeon General came out with a youth mental health advisory. And so I shared it with some of the subcommittees on school committee, with student services and with the policy group. There's some good resources in that document. It's available if you just kind of Google Surgeon General mental health advisory. It sort of highlights youth mental health issues, but I think you can see some common threads in just some things that are stressors for sort of all like humans of any age. But there are some good callouts, some good resources and links. So I know that that's something, so Yana might see it coming from sort of both sides from the HRC, and she might hear some stuff coming up from sort of school administration on trying to get focused on some things. This is kind of centric on COVID, and we're getting some data out that is not really good. So just trying to address it. And I know that that probably is across multiple spectrums in our community. So sort of the more voices and more people that are aware of it is good.
Daniela, go ahead.
I was just wondering, when we do our boilerplate, when something happens, we send out a response quickly. Is there a list of quick links that we might be able to, and maybe we already do this, references in the comment of that post, or after we put, like if you're struggling,
Here's a great idea.
Some resources. It's hard to like give an example, but I think maybe you're getting what I mean, like something that if someone's struggling with experiencing of this, or if they are of a specific affinity group and like something is happening and it's gonna, so.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing to add to those like posts that happen in response to like whatever violence and things like that.
Yeah.
And I think also, so we've talked about this, I think. Sorry, Daniela, were you still talking? Go ahead.
Oh, I was just say that Excel document of resources that Sherry has, if we had a tab, a sheet, so to say, in that book of resources and like maybe like, the link to the resources and what those resources are, that might help us just create a catalog for our own quick reference. And then that way it's a little bit easier on whoever's managing the Facebook posts. That way they're not like constantly digging and sending emails and waiting on someone's response to find like, okay, this is what we should suggest. That was all.
Yeah, thank you. And we've talked about before, and I think this would be good to have it as one of our like a printout that we can put on the table when we're tabling, the one pager. And I feel like I was going to say something else about that and I forgot what it was. Oh, it's hard to do it on our Facebook page because, Facebook is just aligned so much as a feed. So it's like you post it and then like 2 weeks later, nobody is ever going to see it again. But I think we could have it posted on our website through the town, which is like more of a website that has different like sub pages and whatever.
Maybe we could do like QR codes maybe, I don't know if it's like a sticker or a piece of paper or a couple of pieces of papers on when we have a table of like specific things that people can just like go up to their phone and and then they can walk away. Another thing, just so that way we are just giving all the resources, all the ways.
Yeah, I like it. Thank you for bringing this like topic to the HRC and pushing it, Lindsay. I appreciate that. And I think that it is a good thing to be including, you know, as we're interfacing with the public. So cool. Anything else on that topic?
I'm sorry I spoke over the top of you, Lindsay, but we can devote a month to use it to terminology related to mental health. Okay, you know, just a few terms that, I mean, I remember back when I was a teacher, and it was very common for other students to call students who were of limited IQ retards. And you know that that is not acceptable. So I know there's modern terminology, and Yana, you would be more aware of this than I am, in schools where people call others who may not have as much intellectual ability as they have, or who have mental health problems, who have autism, or what is that? I just came across this recently in the store. The syndrome where someone cannot control their screaming, their yelling, their gestures. There's just any kind of thing at all that we can do, even in terms of mental health terminology, words that we use to talk about people or understand them. And again, these posts are like just a few in each one. We're not trying to develop a whole dictionary. They're
I
tasters.
totally agree. I think
Okay.
talking about language, both with cognitive and mental health issues and everything, and disabilities of any kind, I think that's really important. And I think it's really important to sort of destigmatize language around mental health in general, around depression and anxiety, which I know a lot of people have struggled with during COVID and possibly before, you know, depending on circumstances and a lot of different things. So I think devoting time in general to talk about language is important. And it is ever changing. And I think Yana and other kids her age and younger and older and kids in general are really in a good position to teach us. Like, you know, I'm learning the most from the kids I work with. I work with all different ages because they, like, you know, a few people have pointed out language moves faster with them and starts with them. And a lot of the time we can learn from them. So I think that devoting a lot of time to talking about language and to destigmatize language is also important. So thank you, Shari, for being willing to do that. So hopefully we can all work together and have some movement around that. So that'd be great.
Elizabeth, I saw you wanting to say something a second ago.
No, I'm thinking. I'm gonna hold on right now.
Okay. I have a thought which is like totally unformulated right now, but I'm gonna share it anyway, which is I have a question about, is it worth it to use damaging language in a post in order to help people learn about non-damaging language, right? Like, I feel like there's something weird there. Like, do I say—
Depends on the language, I would think. It depends on what you're talking about, I would think, probably.
Well, I'm like responding to what Sherry was just saying about people with intellectual disabilities. It's like, do you say a slur in order to help people learn how to not say the slur? That seems like maybe, I don't know.
That was actually what I was holding on to because I was trying to think about how I wanted to phrase that. That became deeply, deeply uncomfortable to hear. I would lean toward not using language that is no longer used. It's like, it hits my like cut and run reflexes. That like when language, I think when it happens as a mistake, I am always willing to say like, hey, did you know that word is no longer used? I have certainly been the person on the receiving end of that. And I would really like us to do our best to, when we know a word is no longer used, to not use it. Because it is Yeah, deeply uncomfortable and in some ways actually harmful, depending on who is in the audience.
Yeah. Go ahead, Lindsay.
Sorry, can I speak to that? I'm sorry that you had an uncomfortable experience. I would agree that, you know, hearing language that isn't comfortable. And I think that's why it's important to talk about language. And I think we can do that without using uncomfortable terms to do it. I think there are a lot of different ways to educate people, and we don't have to put harmful language in it in order to do that. You know, I think we can do that in a more positive way, in a more educational way that isn't so uncomfortable for people, because I agree with you, that can be very uncomfortable, and it just is, you know. So I think that there are different ways to do that without needing to use language that could hurt other people. So I think we just maybe need to do a little more digging as to how that would look, but I don't think it would be very difficult to make those conversations less uncomfortable for people to hear and to learn from. So I think we just need to reframe what we're doing here, because I don't think that it's worth it to educate people, you know, while harming them in the process. And I don't think that's helpful at all. And I think there are many other ways to do that. So thank you for speaking up about that.
Cool. Well, any other thoughts on this before we move on? Great. Matters not anticipated. Anything that didn't make it onto the agenda that we should talk about? I actually have two things. Even though I made the agenda, I'm like inept enough that I forgot my own agenda items.
I just wonder if for everything going forward, we have to have plan A's and plan B's because of the COVID situation. So I'm thinking about international women. We haven't started working on that yet, but which should it be? The plan A should be virtual and the plan B should be live. I think this is going to be, I mean, I was looking forward to maybe AAPI month being live this year, but who knows?
Yeah, as
Same
we get
thing.
further into the spring, I feel like it will be easier to plan for in-person events, but over the winter, it's like so hard.
Mhm.
Why can't it be both? I mean, I've seen a number of things that have been hosted in person, but then also offered as especially if it's sort of a presentation or an experience or something that could also be a link to a Zoom.
You mean a hybrid meeting?
But yeah, like a webinar almost.
Mm.
So that the people that are comfortable being in person, that are, if they're vaccinated or whatnot, they can do that, and then others that would want to participate can watch it live.
Yeah, and I mean, even just WCAT can do, like, if they're live streaming events for us, like, people can watch it, people can watch it later.
I think if they get the notice, I think they could do that.
Yeah.
Maybe a plan C. We use up all the letters.
Yeah, I think utilizing WCAT as like a live stream service is pretty helpful, because then, yeah, anybody can come in person if it's an in-person event, and anybody can watch it if they want to watch it from home. Okay, so there are two things that I realized that I forgot to put on the agenda. Apologies. One is the land acknowledgement, which we touched on briefly I almost said last month. And me and Eileen just met briefly this week to like move that forward. So I wanted to give you a quick update. But I don't know, Eileen, do you want to talk? I've been talking a lot.
Gosh, you're talking so much. No. So we met this week to think about sort of the best way to approach the land acknowledgement and making sure that we're doing it with the right intentions, and sort of a commitment to follow. So we're a little in the beginning of it, but the hope is that maybe we can partner with the subcommittee for MLK and potentially kick off our first land acknowledgement at the MLK event, maybe, Teresa. So we'll follow up with you. Penny and I are going to do a little more research, meet again next week, and then maybe we'll pop into one of your subcommittee meetings and sort of talk more about that. Is that it? Did I cover all of it?
I think basically, yeah. Or I guess I'll share one of the other things that Eileen had brought up, which was the importance of a land acknowledgement being connected to action in some way. And one of the actions could be like educational. So it could be like, if we're giving a land acknowledgement at an event, also saying, you know, if you want to learn more about this, check out such and such resource, or here's an organization that does really amazing work on this topic or something. So that's one thing that we're thinking about, like how to connect people back to like speakers, artists, groups, you know, any kind of stuff like that, where that could be, you know, expanding people's exposure and understanding of Indigenous issues. Stephen, go ahead.
I apologize because I haven't been to a bunch of meetings, so I don't know how long you've been talking about this particular instance, but I just remembered that the most recent case of a land acknowledgement that I heard was from Will Cavernars at the All Together Now musical on Saturday and Sunday. I don't know if that was like discussed at all in this discussion, but I thought his was in depth, and I wasn't expecting it. I was sort of taken aback a little bit and very pleased that he found the space and time to sort of put it before the performance. So I don't know if he's worth reaching out, just asking sort of where he came up with that, or so.
Who is it?
Will, I always butcher his last name. It's Will Carbonars. He's like the theater. It's not theater teacher. He's like in charge of the theater group at the high school.
Cool. Yeah, we can check it out. Teresa, I saw you come off mute. Did you want to say something about that?
No, that I did mention that briefly in the last meeting, that I went to that performance, and I mentioned that he did start the meeting, and before the performance he started, he did the acknowledgement of the land. So I know we talked about that briefly last time.
Cool.
So that was good, yeah.
So stay tuned for more about that. The other thing that I realized, Stephen, this is a question for you. I have been putting the youth council on the meeting because we have a youth council liaison to tell us about what's going on, but we also have a school committee liaison, and I didn't ever put you on the thing. So I don't know, would you like to have like a sort of a standing agenda item where you can share back about what's going on in the school committee?
I would feel so bad for being a standing item on the agenda. I feel so like negligent in my HRC duties as of late because our calendar has just been, yeah. So as everybody's lives have been full of, you know, whatever in the past couple months. I was so glad I could make it tonight. But I am happy to, when I come, to sort of give you sort of the irons in the fire and what sort of things we're talking about. Because it's always an interesting discussion with what we have going on. I think we're doing some interesting things around. I think we're looking at privacy concerns as it relates to sort of personhood, and I think that fits in sort of with HRC sort of mandate and sort of ownership of your own space. And I'm really interested to sort of have a conversation around consent, how it's given, how it's received, how it exists even within a moment. It's not something that's permanent. It's absolutely in that, you know, that second. And so I think there's some interesting things that will come of that. I think you might hear some conversations. It might start some conversations sort of in the community, because anytime we start getting into some sensitive areas, people have opinions, and they're often really strong around this. So you'll hear some things in the space. So, you know, if it's something that you would feel supportive of, you know, it's always a good thing to sort of put our voices together and just let people know sort of what the pulse is, you know, how we as a community feel about those kinds of things. And then also around the mental health aspect, you know, the work that Lindsay is already doing, hopefully we're doubling down on. And so we'd like to see some more work done around that. But yeah, it's interesting to see sort of how we all are working on similar things in different spheres. And so anytime we can kind of get together and say, oh, I heard so-and-so was talking about this, or so-and-so was talking about that, and we can sort of work together, I think it's just a good thing. Anytime you want me to come on and just talk nonsensical like I just did, I'm happy to do that.
Great, you're on.
All right.
Well, thank you for that. Let's see, anything else unanticipated before we wrap up? Your cat, does your cat have anything to contribute, Dracula?
Dracula says hi, and she hopes everyone's having a really good Tuesday or whatever day today is. It's Tuesday, right?
Yes. Maybe in some realities it is.
All day long.
Yeah. Okay, so then let us review the action list. Over to you, Sherry. You're on mute.
It's a relatively short one. The MLK CHK committee has a lot of follow-up to do. We gave them a lot of suggestions. So they want to extend the deadline for the awards nomination. And they want to send the call for nominations and requests for artwork to, and here's some of the list: the Boys and Girls Club, Picasso on Albion Street, Sunday schools, Follow Your Art in Melrose. That was just some of the different suggestions we had for them. Okay. Nicole will contact Kira Showers, the teacher who was our liaison with the Wakefield Academy, about having a youth tab. Everybody, please send your resources and contacts to Sherry and Daniela so that we can develop the language of diversity initiative for the coming year. On mental health, Lindsay, we've asked you to provide us with a one-page fact sheet, something that perhaps provides some quick links for people to find resources. And also in the months ahead, suggest language around mental health that we can use in language diversity posting. And Yana is going to help Lindsay develop and distribute material to the youth in the community. And finally, Betty and Eileen will continue to work on our land acknowledgement wording for possible presentation on MLK Day. Last but not least, everyone have a wonderful holiday. I think that's an action item. A healthy, a happy, a safe, and a wonderful, and a much better new year, I hope.
Oh, cool. If everyone feels ready, I invite you to move to adjourn.
Yes.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Good.
Second. Oh, okay.
Second, third, fourth. Okay, great. I'm gonna go around here in some kind of slightly random order. Teresa,
Yes.
Maria,
Yes.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
Sherry,
Most definitely.
Eileen,
Yes.
Lindsay,
Yeah.
Daniela.
Bye.
I am also a yes. So that wraps it for us. Thank you, everybody. I think you're all wonderful and great. Can't wait to see you next year.